In today's video, we're going to talk about planetary alignments that are going to be impacting you and me and the collective for years to come. This is a very auspicious, potentially, alignment when we know how to use it. It can also be very difficult if you don't know how to use it and you're not really paying attention or not knowing how to really leverage these energies for your own personal benefit. And we're talking about some of the most potent and longest term transits that we live in. So we're going to start with Pluto, talk a little bit about Pluto, then look at what's happening with Neptune, and then Saturn is coming to meet Neptune, what is going to be happening with that particular alignment, and how is that influencing us both astrologically and from a human design point of view. So this is big stuff, people. Let's go ahead and dive in. Before we get into the specifics of that, I want to make sure that you know, I mentioned this in another video earlier this month, but that we are putting together the final touches on our self-study program about how to study the transits from a human design point of view. And so if this is something that you're interested in, we do have a waiting list, and we will alert you right away when that program is available. So this is one that it's very, very practical. It's very much like, how do you take this and work with it with your human design chart so that you are aware of these celestial and planetary influences and how you can really leverage them to your benefit, because the alignments really give us a lot of opportunities when we know how to use them. And sometimes we can get broadsided when we don't know that they're happening and we fall into more of the disempowered expression or more of the shadow expression. So we really want to be able to utilize and take the opportunities that they offer us to be raising our frequency and to be aligning with the highest light possible. And that's what this particular program is going to help you do. So the link for that is down below. It's totally free. It's just an opportunity for you to say, yes, I want to find out about it when it happens. And then we'll reach out to you and let you know so you can come and take a look at it and see if it feels like something that you'd like to participate in. Let's start our discussion of the planets with Pluto. So Pluto moved into Aquarius on November 19th, of last year. And so we have been in a new Pluto and Aquarius age, a new Aquarian age, which is unfolding also because of the precession of the equinoxes. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but that is an aspect of what in the Vedic traditions we call the Yuga cycle, and we have ended the Kali Yuga and we're moving into a new phase. We're actually in a transitional phase, and that's also alerting us to the age of Aquarius, as well as Pluto moving into Aquarius. Now, Pluto moving into Aquarius, of course, is a continued breakdown of the old order. Aquarius is very much about personal sovereignty, sovereignty of self, but it's also about being in community. So it's not the sovereignty of self and not caring about what's going on with anybody else. It's also about being in relationship with others and being in communities that really support us in our raising our frequency, and then also to be really aligned with cosmic consciousness. This is the phrase Heather Unsworth came up with Pluto and Aquarius: sovereignty of self in the sanctity of community aligned with cosmic consciousness, which of course is what we practice in the Sovereign Sisterhood. And we're going to have registration opening for that soon too. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to be on my my email list so you'll find out about it. Okay, that was a side note. But so Pluto in Aquarius. So we've been seeing all kinds of things happening now that Pluto moved into Aquarius, lots of breakdown of the old order. But let's take a look at this from a human design point of view, because Pluto is in the gate 41. And the gate 41 in traditional human design is known as fantasy, and in quantum human design is known as imagination. And that's really shows the two kind of more disempowered aspect of the 41 being a fantasy, meaning illusion, right? We don't know what's true. We can be in a fantasy state where we're creating all kinds of possibilities that are really don't have any feet in ordinary reality. And we can also be feeding those, believing that they're true, but they're actually illusions. And so this is something that Pluto is also helping to break apart illusions. There's a lot of things that are becoming available to us now. There's a lot of disclosure going on. There's a lot of are becoming aware of things that have been hidden from us. And this is going to continue for quite some time. So Pluto in Aquarius has an aspect of this in that gate 41, but the more empowered or awakened expression of the 41 is our ability to use the power of our imaginations to be creating what we want, not to be in a fantasy where we're just checking out, we're dissociated, we're living, basically like in a TV reality or a movie reality, right? And we're trying to not really be paying attention to what's happening in our world. Right. But rather to be able to come into that power of our imagination and to utilize that power of our imagination to be creating narratives, to be creating possibilities, to be looking at the timelines that we want to be living in, and what do we want to infuse those positive timelines with as we are imagining and creating stories about, so that we have a future path that we're walking on into creating the new earth that we are really longing for, one that is based in more compassion and more love and more a common understanding, and really something that works for all of us and for all sentient beings, including our ecosystems and our living world and the planet herself. And so this is big work, people, right? This is big work that we're doing. And so let's just remember that Pluto is in there trying to be dissolving the illusions that we've been living in the past. And there are many, 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 many layers of this. And so, how you're experiencing it might have to do with what is going on with you and understanding, for example, your family culture and things that happened when you were growing up. But it could also be coming to understand things that have happened in the larger landscape that you live in, and for example, the history of the people who lived in the landscape before you, or the people who look like you. This is really important here in the United States. Or if it has to do with the history of the nation state, or even the history of our world and the illusions that we've had about all of that. And so the invitation here is just to be continuing to pull away the illusions of the past, with the purpose of being able to free our imaginations, so that we can be putting kind of legs on our visions, right? And be bringing them more into the earth plane. Pluto started a new symphony. Okay. Pluto started a new score of music by saying, ta-da! We've moved into the age of Aquarius. Ta-da! We're taking apart illusions, right? And we want to supercharge our imagination in positive ways. Then we had Neptune, who moved into the gate 25 on the 10th of February, still in Pisces, but in the gate 25. And the gate 25 is on the G center. The G center is the center for love and lovability, identity, and direction. It's the yellow diamond in the center of the body graph, in the center of your energy field, if it's colored in your chart, if it's defined in your chart. You have a G center, even if it's white on your chart. You've experienced it thousands of times, even if it's not colored in. Just be assured of that. So that gate 25 is on the G center, and it is the love of spirit, right? It is our spiritual practice, our relationship to spirit. So at that time, 10th of February, Neptune was still in Pisces. And so Neptune in Pisces has a similar theme of, it can be very dreamlike. It can be imaginative. We can be moving into the astral realm. We can be working with our unconscious and all of that. But it can also be illusions. It can be addictions. It can be kind of like living in fog, if you will, right? And then at the end of March, Neptune moved into Aries, still in the gate 25. Neptune's going to be in the gate 25 until the 19th of March, 2027. So it's going to be there for a couple of years, but he's on a journey during this time, starting in Pisces, going into Aries, going to be in Aries for a while, going to retrograde back into Pisces, and then turn around and go forward and then be in Aries for the next 14 years. And so we're in, again, another of that Pisces, Aries back and forth that we had earlier this year with Mercury and Venus. We're doing the same thing. So we've got another refrain. Here we had Pluto saying, da-da, we're moving out of illusions, right? We want to be using our imagination. And then we had earlier in the year, like I said, we had Mercury and Venus, same kind of thing, right? Going from Pisces into Aries and then back into Pisces and then moving forward. And now they're moving forward in Aries. And so we have that same kind of, let's look at those illusions that we've been living in, looking the way we've been kind of unconscious about things, where we haven't had, really been embodied, right? We've been kind of a little, dissociated a little in the ether, if you will, right? And then Aries, we come in and it's like, boom, we're in the body. We're like, I am. This is an I am sign, right? I mean, I'm an Aries sun. I really relate to this, right? It's this kind of I am here. It's a lot about sovereignty. So again, we have another refrain about personal sovereignty and about you claiming your sovereignty as Neptune moves into Aries. And when that happens, we're going to start to be burning away because Aries brings in more clarity. Aries brings in more agency, right? It gives us the ability to be like, wow, I can really see what's going on now. And now I have some energy and some ability to actually take some action. And we're still in this place where we're kind of burning away the fogginess that we might have had from Pisces, but you also might be feeling more energy about moving forward as this has happened. And then we've got Saturn, who's been coming along behind Neptune, right? And so, Saturn moves faster than Neptune does, right? Neptune's way out there. Pluto's way, way, way out there. And then Neptune is way out there, right? And then Saturn's a little closer in. So Saturn's cycle is moving faster. And so Saturn moved into the gate 25 on the 5th of May. And so we've had both Neptune and Saturn in that gate 25. And then Saturn's going to move from Pisces into Aries on the 24th of May. So coming right up here. And then it's going to retrograde back in the summer, going to have a retrograde period. Then it's turn around, going to go forward. Back into Aries, and we'll talk about what happens after that. But let's take a moment here to think about the distinction between what happens as Neptune is doing this, right? And we're saying it's bringing in more clarity, going to bring some more agency into really our spiritual theme. So in human design and also in astrology, Neptune is one of our major spiritual themes. And so here is Neptune, who's a spiritual theme, lighting up the gate of spirit and is gaining more clarity and more agency. So that's kind of what's happening with Neptune. Then we have Saturn that comes along that is, right, has been in Pisces, right? And Saturn is kind of like, hey, how can we get some structure in here in this really kind of abstract and expanded sign of Pisces, right? Not super happy in that particular sign. But then we're going to have Saturn coming in and moving into Aries on the 24th. And so this is, again, kind of this power of our ability to create and to bring things into form. Because Saturn is about form. Saturn is about structure. Saturn is also about boundaries and about, some people say about constraints or conservatism, right? Really think of it as being what we need in order to build with structure, and also discipline and responsibility. Saturn can be a huge ally for us when we know how to use Saturn. If we are being willing to focus on what it is, he's saying, hey, pay attention here. And we do, okay, let me build some personal discipline around whatever it is that Saturn is wanting me to pay attention to. I like to think of Saturn as a support for developing our devotion to what it is that we want to be devoted for. And in this case, Saturn is in the gate 25, which is the love of spirit. And it has to do with our spiritual connection. And so now we've had this really kind of watery, abstract, divine energy of Neptune has comes along with a more, definitely a more planetary, like Earth kind of energy of Saturn, which is like, let's bring it into form. Let's create something solid with this, and let's do it with devotion. And so here we've got these two beautiful, super powerful, super influential planets that are all saying to us, are you connected to spirit? Do you have a discipline around your connection to spirit? Are you taking the time every day? This is what Saturn would say, right? Every day, sitting down, taking a walk, doing some kind of movement where you're really connecting with your own inner being, the light being that you are inside, having a human experience. I know that our world is really chaotic right now. It's really tumultuous. It's easy to get pulled out of your own personal awareness because there's a lot going on out there. But notice the planets are saying, don't look out there, look in here. Look in here. And I think this is such an important message for us to get, because the incendiary nature of what's going on in the media right now can be extremely compelling. Like, you want to know what's going on, right? And people get addicted to that, right? And notice, my friend, if you've been addicted either to the news, right, which is designed to make you addicted to it because it's wanting you to get like dopamine responses by seeing all the horrible things that are going on in the world, right? I mean, we actually do get kind of addicted to that. But remember, we're moving out of that Piscean, Neptunian kind of addiction that we can have. Or if you've been addicted to distraction, like with movies or with TV, with other things that you're just kind of distracting yourself because you don't, like, there's a lot going on there. Everyone just, how can I keep my mind busy so I don't have to be paying attention to what's going on out there? You can even do this with social life, or, there's a lot of different ways we can do this. And so it's not that we don't want to have things that are fun to do or ways that we engage with stories and things like that. But the question is what's the motivation? Why are we doing it? And what is the impact of us doing it? And so this is one of the things that Saturn's really saying is like, is what you're doing, is it helping you? What are you devoted to? What are you putting your time and your attention and your energy into, right? How are you using that? Because your life force energy, your attention is your greatest resource. It's your greatest resource, because whatever you're giving your attention to, whatever lens you're living through, whatever energy you're allowing to pour through that lens, that's creating the world that you're living in. That's creating your life. And the thing is with all these distractions that we get, right, lead us away from really understanding this and from learning how to do it. Most of us don't know how to do this. We weren't taught how to do this. Most of us didn't grow up in a world where this was a value. And the outer planets could not be more clear, really, if you take a look at what they've been saying, which is to really tune into your creativity, tune into your intuition, tune into your spiritual essence and your spiritual nature. And go within for guidance. Go within to be receiving the downloads that you need. This is the gate 25 is in individual circuitry, which is highly intuitive. It does not fit in. It is here to bring change. It's part of that evolutionary impulse of humanity. And here we've got Neptune and Saturn both lighting up and pouring their energy through this evolutionary impulse of humanity. And Uranus is too, different parts in the gate 8, but that's also highly intuitive in the knowing circuit, individual circuitry. So we've got all of these planets that are doing this. Pluto in the gate 41 is part of the sensing circuit, which is creative energy, embodied energy, experiential energy. None of this is logical. None of it's rational. Okay. None of the big outer planets are in those gates. They are all asking us to look inside, to open up our inner channel, and to be receiving what it is that is our next steps, and to be doing it with love, right? To be doing it with love, and to be doing it with the love of spirit. And so whatever else you're doing, please hear that message. Now, another layer, okay, which I love, is that these are, this is all sort of happening and activating the very beginning of the astrological wheel, which is the creator degree of Aries, the beginning of the astrological wheel, the astrological year. But now we're having Neptune is hanging out there at the 0 degrees of Aries, and Saturn is going to be there hanging out there. And let's take a look at the Sabian symbol for that particular astrological degree. So it's called A Woman Just Risen from the Sea. A seal is embracing her. And the keynote for that is emergence of new forms and the potentiality of consciousness. The emergence of new forms and the potentiality of consciousness. So this is known as the creator degree. It's like this is a new phase. And this is we're entering a new era here with Neptune and Saturn. And so, as I said, Aries is really this kind of I am, right? It's this sovereign energy. It is the ability to become embodied, come fully in, have all of your faculties available and say, I am here. I am ready. Let's go. And I love, it's like this woman who's emerging from the sea, right? She's emerging from Pisces, right? Water, right? She's in the ocean. She's been there. She's emerging out of it, right? Coming into a whole new phase. And she has a seal that comes and embraces her. So she is in this dynamic relationship with the living world, even as she comes out of this Piscean ocean, right? This Neptunian ocean, and is saying, yes, okay, I'm connecting with the living world and with this beautiful species that with whom I share this planet as I am standing here to create the new world. And so this is not something that hasn't happened for thousands of years, at least according to the astrologers that I'm listening to, is to have both Neptune and Saturn together here at the creator degree, and which is bringing in both our imagination, bringing in our ability to dream, our connection to the all that is, but then also the structure to make this real in our everyday lives, our ability to be devoted to growing ourselves as spiritual beings, understanding that we're not just material reality, we're not just, solid matter, we're actually energy inside, and that what we used to think of as empty space in the molecules and in our atoms is actually full of waveforms of spiritual information, which is animating our form. It's you. It's your light being you. And so my recommendation and my invitation to you is that as you grow your spiritual practice, to think of it, to feel into it, to lean into the recognition that what you're doing here is you are having your human self, right? The personality, the you know is you, meeting your light being self, your spiritual aspect, the eternal part of you that has agreed to come and have this human experience. And that this is its own kind of sacred union that is happening inside of you. And it's happening right here in your G center. It's happening right here in your heart. And so that this is a big part of your spiritual practice. So whatever it is that you decide to do in terms of actions, just know that that is the intention, is to reduce and eventually eliminate the gap between this eternal part of you and your earth experience, so that you are aware of that eternal part of you, and that eternal part of you has the ability to expand its earth experience. And so that's what we're doing. 20 years ago, I started working with a light being named Oren, who was channeled by Sinea Roman. You may be familiar with some of their work because they've been around for a long time. Sinea is no longer in her body, but the body of work that they created was. And I remember Oren really talking about back then that we are in this process of creating a soul-infused personality. That's what he used to call it. And so a lot of the practices that he gave us were about how do we, again, kind of infuse our understanding of who we are here in material reality with our spirit aspect, right? With our soul, with this expanded part of who we are. And so we're infusing that more and more because we've been living in a lot of density, and we are part of this time of awakening, right? Is that we're literally bringing more light into this density that we are. And the more that you are practicing that sacred union between you, the you that you know is you, the you of everyday life, and the you, right, that you connect with when you go inside, the more whole you're going to be, the more the different aspects of you can all come together. The parts of you that might still be wounded and still have some trauma, right? We all have parts like that, right? From early life, from other lives, from ancestral, right? Those parts can start to become more whole as well. Because when you do that practice of you meeting you, the parts of you that haven't been healed yet will come up for healing and will be grabbing your attention and say, please help me to come into a deeper space of calm and of acceptance and of love and lovability and benevolence and compassion, right? Because those parts want to evolve as well. And when you do that, they can then integrate in even more. And you and your experience of everyday life, you'll be more whole, you'll be less distracted, you'll be more embodied, you'll be more calm, you'll have more energy that you're aware of that's coming to you from the light realms, right? Because you're going to be releasing the things that have really been in your way. And when you do that, everything in your life becomes easier. As we're wrapping up for today, I want to point out one particular alignment that is coming up next year. So, as I said, both Neptune and Saturn are they're moving into Aries. They're going to retrograde back into Pisces for different periods of time. They're here. You can screenshot the images I have here if you want the exact of that. And then they're going to turn around and they're going to go forward into Aries. Okay, and so in January of 2025, Neptune and Saturn are going to have an exact conjunction from a human design point of view in the gate 25, line 3. And it's just going to happen from January 15th until the 23rd. So approximately a week, 8 days, where they're going to literally be in the same gate and in the same line. So they're very, very close. And this is where, from an astrological point of view, we see them as their conjunction as being exact. So we can look forward to what's going to be happening early next year, when these two great celestial beings are going to be linking arms with each other for the service of humanity. All right, my friends, please do let us know if you are interested in participating in the self-study program that we're putting together having to do with the human design transits and how you can apply them to your own chart so that you can understand how to work them. And that will be coming probably early June. And we're putting the finishing touches on it. All right, my friends, many blessings, much love. Make sure to juice up that spiritual practice. Okay. Bye for now.